What's up, everybody? Welcome to a decade ramble. I'm going to do probably a bunch of these over the course of 2019 because 2019 marks the 10th year anniversary of this channel. I started this channel in 2009, specifically in March. So it's been 10 years. I've actually started doing 40K ramblings, if you will, postings, if you will, in 2008 as a blog poster. In 2009, I started the channel. In 2010, I stopped posting on the blog. So, yeah, it's been quite a ride. 10 years of it as a channel is pretty crazy. I want to thank everybody who's watched, especially you subscribers out there. The fact that people still hit the subscribe button is inspiration and keeps the fuel for the fire going to want to make more posts. With that said, I did have one viewer, hopefully subscriber, post a few questions that I will answer in this ramble. It's going to be a long-winded ramble, so I'm going to answer those questions. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the channel's origins, if you will, as well as some plans I have for the channel going forward, just some stuff potentially in the pipeline and all that. So, with that said, first question up. A while ago, I mentioned I was in the Exton, Pennsylvania area. Am I still there? No, I'm not. I moved. It's a fine area. It was just a stepping stone for me. It wasn't meant to be a permanent residence unless something fell into my lap, which, out of nowhere, out of the blue, if an opportunity presented itself, I wasn't going to say no, but it was meant to be kind of a temporary position, and it was, or place to live, whatever. You get my point. So no, I'm not still there anymore. Other questions. What do I think of the precedent of Calgar becoming Primaris? The person thinks it is part of the inevitable shift of phasing out the old Space League models in favor of going towards this Primaris true scale effect. They also think that it's going to be expensive for a lot of gamers. Well, it's funny because I did a Ramblecast a while. I want to say a while ago. That's not fair, but I did a Ramblecast. In fact, I will at this very moment look at it 3 months ago. As of this ramble with a buddy of mine, Matt, on the idea of Primaris Space Marines. And then after that, I did my thoughts on the Calgar and Victrix Guards models so far, when they were first announced. So I say all that because I did do that long-winded Ramblecast. So a lot of cooking going on there to get back to where I was. Anyway, I did that, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot of what was asked was addressed there in heavy detail. But I'll go over some bullet point stuff of what I think to answer these questions, or this big question. Overall, I'm fine with the precedent of Calgar becoming Primaris. I like it. I like the Primaris scale. So that's why a big part of it is I like the Primaris models and the Primaris scale. It's basically a true scale from GW right off the gate. And this is a scale that Space Marine should have been, I feel, brought to earlier than this. I tried my hand at true scaling a Space Marine model by cutting it up and with plastic card and green stuff, and it was just a mess. Did not work. Was awful. Just terrible. The true scaling it can look awesome, and I am no good at it. So having it from GW is fantastic, and I think the big hubbub about it for the community at large is that this is Primaris, a different stat line, extra organs from the and whatnot than Space Marines typically have, and this is causing a little bit of a panic and a stir. I think Calgar is deserving of being upgraded like this in kind of a pretty unique way. He is the original special character for Space Marines in essence. He's been around forever, and he's deserving of it that way. It's a cool model. I do miss his old Terminator model, but this Primaris model is fantastic. It's a definitive answer to a question of the fluff. When Primaris were first announced way back in 7th edition, at the end of 7th edition, the way they described it, to me, made it sound like this was possible. It sounded like it would be easier to make a Primaris Space Marine from a young neophyte like they do for Space Marines anyway, but going down that path from the beginning, this sounded like, yes, this is the easier way to do it, but it is possible, however dangerous and arduous, to turn a full-fledged Space Marine into a Primaris. I always thought that was possible, but it was never directly said. It was just to me, it was implied by the way they described Primaris. So there's always that question. And we actually got a definitive answer in the form of Calgar becoming a Primaris. So I like that. I like having a definitive answer, which is rare in 40K from GW. So there you go. Also, it shows Gilliman, acknowledging the heroism of the Ultramarines and of Space Marines in this age of darkness, even though he doesn't approve of this age and is trying to bring the Imperial truth in whatever way he can forward. He's at least acknowledging that, it's not their fault. This is the age they were brought into. So it's just a nice bit of fluff progression that way. So that's for Calgar becoming Primaris. That's what I think. I'm a fan of it. I enjoy it. And those are the reasons why. As far as the inevitable shift of pushing out the old Space Marine range, if you go back to the Rogue Trader era, Space Crusade box set and stuff like that, and you look at those pewter and plastic models, and you compare it to the standard Space Marine range we have today, including Death Watch kill teams, including the tactical squads and whatnot, you will see there's a scale difference. There is a size difference. They have gotten bigger, and the models have gotten bigger over time. Look at the old dangerous pewter dreadnoughts that you could kill somebody with because they're a chunk of pewter. They are smaller than the basic plastic dreadnought we have today. It's the nature of the beast, the business part of the game. The models are getting bigger. It's just more obvious to people because of the whole Primaris tagline on it. If you look at the Death Guard models that came out with Primaris, they are basically at the Primaris scale. It didn't necessarily sneak in under the radar, but it's less talking about that and more talking specifically about Primaris because they're called Primaris. In people's eyes, it's that one is more important to bring up and address, even though Death Guard got the same treatment, basically. So as far as it pushing out the old Space Marine models, that's happened over the years. It continues to happen, even before Primaris came out. I love this scale. I like standard Space Marine models just fine. They're awesome. But this scale, the only way I can kind of describe it is having actually assembled some Primaris myself and handle that scale and stuff, it feels great. I love that scale for Space Marines. It just feels more proportionally better. So personally, I like that. Some people don't, and I get it. It's fine. But for me, I like it, so I would be okay with the entire Space Marine range going that way. I'd love to see that scale for Terminators, for example. But if this does happen, it's going to be a while. Outside of Calgar, which is a special character and kind of doesn't count in my opinion, we haven't seen a direct replacement for anything in the standard Space Marine range. And the reason I say Space Marine characters don't truly count is because we've seen their models get phased out for newer models, and sometimes those models have a scale change. So, whatever. But my point is this. We would have to start seeing actual units coming out for Primaris that are, in fact, replacements. And thus far, that hasn't happened. We would have to see, for example, Devastator Primaris come out. Then it's like, okay, we're approaching that shift. We have to see the Terminators come out to go, okay, we're definitely approaching that shift. And we would have to see two other things. Unit entries getting more options for Primaris, because if you get rid of standard captains and only give us Primaris captains, I can guarantee you there will be quite the firestorm because we would lose all the options we had available to us and all the cool models we can make. So that would involve bikes, and that would involve Terminator armor, and that would involve lightning claws and all the war gear options that captains have access to, that Primaris captains should have access to, but that's a ramble for another time. We'd also have to see Forge World support for Primaris, which again, you have to remember, Forge World's got a pretty big plate to deal with already in the form of the Horus Heresy series from them, which is basically Warhammer 30k the game. So they're not going to just upgrade everything to the Primaris scale. It wouldn't make sense for Warhammer 30k the game for all the stuff we have out now. And we haven't seen them tackle 40k Primaris stuff yet. It'd be interesting to see what they do. And if they start doing that, then perhaps we would see part of a shift towards Primaris scale for things. And if everything went to scale, it would suck to lose the modular nature that Powered Armored Space Marine and Terminator Armored Space Marines have with kits of the relevant type. So you could take a Devastator, Tactical, Assault, Stern Guard, Grey Knight bits, all power armor stuff, put them all together, make a really cool looking model. it would suck to lose that, but at the same time, it would only be a partial loss, because if everything was the same scale, then everything is kind of modular to a point with each other, and they wouldn't just make everything Mark 10 armor. I think we still see Mark 2 through Mark 8 as well, especially unless everything went Primaris. And again, we have to wait and see what the logic is with that, should that happen, and it would take years, I think, for that to happen. So I'm not too worried about it being an inevitable shift. It kind of always is, and GW has learned a lot, especially with their debacle of getting rid of Tomb Kings and Age of Sigmar. That really was a mistake in the fan base, right? Like, lore reasonings and stuff aside, in terms of the actual logistics of playing the game and having a collection, it really was a mistake that they learned from. And I doubt they're going to do that with 40k, especially with their cash cow. So there's that. And you might also say, what about Pariahs? Well, Pariahs lost their unit entry from Necrons, but they also, war gear-wise, are very similar to a couple of the entries in the Necron Codex and could easily fit in for that. So you don't necessarily need to replace them wholesale, right? Now, with all that said, if the scaling was to change tomorrow, I'm sure GW would post a nice rules hard errata thing stating, hey, as long as the model's on the appropriate size base, which is what they're more caring about, it's fine, right? Because people have been using Rogue Trader era stuff if they own it and they like it. Now, I mean, people are using the old Dreadnoughts, using the old Terminators with the crazy shoulder pads and so forth, because they like those models, they own those models, a bit of a bragging right thing. I have an old kind of Dark Angel Company Master. He's smaller. He is small, but I still like him and I still use him when a few times I have played. And just because I like the model and it's cool, but it's not like, oh, look at that unfair advantage. Not at all. It's on the appropriate base, and you have fun with it. So I'm sure they would have an errata stating pretty much just that to kind of keep people from panicking in the streets, if you will. And as a result, I don't really think it'll be expensive for a lot of gamers, because it'll be a case of, yeah, here's this whole new range for Space Marines, but all your stuff is still valid. And that's what I truly think will happen. But we're gamers. Shiny model syndrome hits all of us hard. We're going to want them. So it's going to be expensive on a voluntary basis, I think. Anyways, with that answered, I could go on and on and on about that. Moving on is, do I do any video gaming? Have I considered doing Let's Plays, also battle reports and Doranport type stuff? Doranport was something I was a part of, but it wasn't my specific creation. I was just a co-conspirator. A lot of fun, kind of the first of its kind, to be honest, in form of a narrative battle report. I'm not saying it's absolutely the first of its kind, but at the time there really wasn't any of that going on, so that's cool. And it was a lot of fun. But we don't really live near each other anymore, the original cast and crew. So it would be hard to pull off and do, and it's not something I want to try and do myself. However, the idea of narrative, voice acting concept stuff-wise, voice modulation stuff, I have been delving into and checking out for the purposes of just doing kind of themed videos. Not battle reports, just themed videos to a certain degree, like in the, having like a themed intro or whatever. So, stay tuned for that potentially at some point in the future once I figure out how to incorporate it. Battle reports were never a thing I wanted to do on this channel. So that's never going to happen. Well, I shouldn't say never. As far as I can tell, it's not going to happen. It takes a lot of time. Basically, take whatever game you're playing. Battlefield Gothic, Battletech, 40k, Age of Sigmar, Warma Hordes, and double the standard game length. And you basically have how long it's going to take just to play and shoot that battle report as a video. And it's just too much for me. That was never the plan. But I do video game, console and PC. Yes and no have I given thoughts to Let's Plays on YouTube. To do actual Let's Plays is a whole separate channel in which I play any and all games that will give views and subscribers, right? That's the nature of that beast. Which I don't really want to do, because that's a whole separate channel, a whole separate allotment of time just for that channel, which would split my time on YouTube between this channel and a theoretical channel, and it wouldn't be fair, and the viewerships would be different, so I couldn't do it here. stuff pertaining to things like BattleTech and 40k have crossed my mind. Not as much as Let's Plays. It would be a Let's Play, but it wouldn't be a standard thing. It would be very much tied to the talking about the universe and the fluff and the lore and the miniatures, or stuff like that. I have given consideration to, but still, I wasn't sure how well that would go over, so I haven't really tried. Especially considering I don't have a way of capturing video on PC yet. If I have figured out a cheap enough way to do that that's decent, maybe I could do some, at the very least, video capturing to have that playing in the background of a ramble. Not necessarily a Let's Play, but just like a game of Last Stand playing while I talk about stuff, maybe referencing it here and there, throughout the ramble. So I've considered stuff like that. It's just not in the cards at the moment. I don't have a budget for this channel. Basically, my budget for this channel is whatever I can scavenge and scrounge and make work. So, I don't know how that would go. But it's something that's crossed my mind for not necessarily Let's Play purposes, but just the idea of having more stuff to showcase while rambling. Anyways, that's it for those questions. Thanks a lot for them. As I mentioned, this channel, and long story longer for this ramble, but why not? Let's have some fun. This channel actually started as a blog post in 2008. So there is that. And it was fun, but I wanted something that could pull double duty insofar as, while blog posts are great because there's no video to play, once you load the page, you have the post and you can reference it as you wish, where you wish, exactly how you wish too. But you can't be playing a video game or painting up your models and getting the information or the rambling at the same time. And that's kind of what I wanted with the videos for the channel. Is yes, I wanted you to watch some videos too, but also have the ability to play it in the background and then maybe peek at it every so often while doing whatever else you want to do. Kind of multi-purpose concept, which is where the channel concept really started for, and that's kind of why I started the channel. So that's kind of just an insight into the origins of the channel, if anybody was curious a decade ago what my thought process was there. It also is easier for me to get my point across from rambling like this and going off on tangents and trying to streamline it down to a very formulaic post and typing. Plus, me and grammar and spelling never do get along very well. So, with that said, I would like to, for the future of this channel, continue everything I'm doing in terms of series and random rambles and so forth, and eventually getting the hobby side of stuff up and running again, starting off with repairing Apollo, which should happen soon, hopefully, at least getting that started. But on top of that, I'll touch upon this in a separate ramble for sure, but terrain/scenery, BattleTech is what got, let me back up. BattleTech is what got everything started for me, having an interest in anything miniatures and sci-fi stuff like this in terms of gaming. However, it's the scenery/terrain that really wrote me in to continue paying attention. And I would love to kind of try my hand at something like that in the future, so that there's a potential for that coming down the pipeline as well. I'd also like to try my hand at maybe getting some interviews happening on this channel. Not with anything crazy, not with any game developers or Black Library authors. Not because I don't want to, because I doubt it would ever happen. I would never say no, I just doubt it would ever happen. And obviously that would require me seeking them out. But I thought maybe before seeking out that potential, doing some interviews with people from the community, terrain side and gaming side and so forth, it's something that I would potentially like to try out in the future as well. This channel, just as a little FYI there, and then see about maybe picking that up, and that'll also be part of a separate ramble, just kind of going to my more of a thought process that way. Anyways, with all that said, I think this has been a good first decade ramble, long-winded rambling for fun. Answered some questions, had some fun with it, got a little insight into the channel at large. I would like to try and get more of a concrete content posting on this channel. I would not saying every Mondays and Fridays. No, I can't guarantee anything like that, but I would like to have the ability to do more than one video a week. And that's going to be on me, and I'm going to try, and saying it in a ramble will hopefully help try to keep me on that pace. It's not a guarantee, but if I can try and get at least 2 videos up a week, that would be great. A lot of it's time constraints. I spend a lot of hours not at home, for work and everything. So there's that. When I am home, I got to split my attention among a myriad of different things, errands and upkeep of home and food and relaxing and getting the inspiration to do this versus doing this and so on and so forth. So time gets split up, right? And I also have to make sure I post. Sometimes I'll have a video to post. When I get home, I forget all about posting it. I get home, I eat dinner, and I'm just relaxing. Before I know it, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, oh, I forgot to post a video. Whoops. So I got to get better at that too. But I like to have a bit more of consistent uploading onto this channel, especially for series, right? Series that have a definitive end, right? Like Primark Purpose. I would like to have multiple posts a week on this channel, and I would like at least one of them every week to be for Primark Purpose, just so I can get that done. It takes time, right? And it's going to be, and there's 18 to talk about, and we're roughly almost halfway there. So I like to kind of spur that forward some more, just so not because I want to rush it and get it done, but because I don't want people to be waiting forever for their particular Primark if they're curious about my thoughts for that series and so forth. So that's kind of my thoughts that way as well when it comes to doing video postings. And lastly, thanks very much for sticking through all of this. I am going to be posting on the community tab of this channel, and I'm going to make a better effort to reference it as well in videos, because that's half the battle right there. But I'm going to have a permanent standing Q&A posting on the community tab. Basically, all you got to do is go to the community tab, make a comment to that particular post. That's that permanent Q&A posting. Just make a comment to it with your question. When one or two things happen, either enough time passes for the few questions that are there, or if there's an onslaught of questions in a small amount of time, once I see a certain threshold for either happening, I will do a video just answering those questions. And what I'll do is when that happens and I post that video, I will reply to all the comments that I answered with just a simple one-word answered. That's for me to kind of keep housekeeping up so I don't accidentally answer the same question in 14 different videos, right? So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make a better case of referencing the community tab for that to kind of make people aware, because sometimes people won't even know, which is fine. Anyways, that's it. I've rambled on long enough by myself. Thanks very much for sticking through it. We're in the 10-year mark, so it's going to be a bunch of random decade rambles like this one to come, because it's a special occasion. Why not? Let's make excuses for videos. Always fun to have an excuse to make a video. Anyways, that's it. Thanks very much for sticking through it. Any questions, comments, or requests, you can leave them in the comment section, as well as any Q&A style questions you might have posted in the community tab. And until next time, take it easy.